Welcome back to SaharaTV. My name is still Rudolf Okonkwo, and with me here I have Dr. Wumi Akintide. Wumi, welcome back. Thank you. And Mr. Adedipe, welcome back. All right, so we are talking about the speech of the president, and I want to go to what he said about Boko Haram, which he spent some time, about 2 or 3 paragraphs, talking about Boko Haram. And he said, one of the things he said was that we cannot claim that we defeated Boko Haram until we rescue the Chibok girls, which is quite interesting. You know, what do you think about that? Essentially, when we know that they've been able to go, the military, they've been able to go into Sambisa forest, and so far they've not seen the girls. What is your take?
I think that was a very fundamental statement to make. That because we were all of Nigeria, I mean, the whole world attention was drawn to Nigeria because of the Chibok girls. And now that the army was trying to move in and to free all people, we were told that they free all people that we did not even know that were captured before. But the real reason why this whole effort started was because of the Chibok girls. Up to tomorrow, the Chibok girls are nowhere to be found. I think the president hit the right chord by making that statement that until we get those girls, we cannot say that our job is done. We're fighting Boko Haram.
Okay.
I agree with that.
Okay. What is your take in terms of, he went out of his way to reinforce again that Boko Haram is a mindless, godless group who are so far away from Islam as one can think of?
Yes. He said that, and it's very, very important that he said that. He's a devout Muslim. Now, he's saying Boko Haram. The lie they've been telling us is that Boko Haram is fighting for Islam. Now, it's very clear that he's a Muslim. Now, it's very clear that those people are not fighting for Islam. They are just a pack of thugs. That's what he said.
Now, but he also, when there's something interesting I saw, he said that we shall overhaul the rules of engagement to avoid human rights violations in operation. That's something very, very tricky for the government, yes, especially the last government, because the international community, they were criticizing our military. We know the issue with the Obama administration because of human rights. Right. So he's saying that we shall overhaul the rule of engagement to make sure that human rights are not violated. Right. So what do you think about that?
I think that is correct too, because it has to weigh the sensitivities of those supporting us, the international community. And the international community, they are very, very sensitive to human rights violation and all of that. So it's a very wise statement to be making. But I know that when he gets, now that he's in the saddle, and is able to get the nitty-gritty and the details of what is involved, I think he will be able to navigate within it and be able to come to terms with that. But I agree with his basic hypothesis that Boko Haram is a godless kind of sect. You know, because if you take inventory of the number of people who have been killed, more Muslims have been killed by Boko Haram. Now, how can you say you are protecting Islam and you are all the same killing Muslims? Hey, it doesn't add up to me. And I think that was the point that the president was making. You know, the president himself was almost a victim of Boko Haram because there was a bomb that he just escaped narrowly. And up to tomorrow, nobody has actually explained why or investigated it or get all the culprits who are responsible for that. So I thought the president made a good point.
Mr. Adedipe, I want to get your opinion about, he talked about separation of power, the judiciary and the executives, the local governments, the state government. So all these divisions, he kind of saying that he will respect it. But at the same time, he made a statement where he said that he'll be failing in his duty if he doesn't hold these people accountable to make sure that they deliver for the people. How do you balance?
Yes, he said he's going to respect all the other areas of government. Remember, in Jonathan's administration, all the governors were pocketing the money for each local government. So I think the local government, according to our constitution, the local government is a segment on its own. It's independent. But all the state governors are taking the money and spending it the way they want. And so they have, all the governors put the local government into their own pockets. So if we can do that, that would be the authentic separation of power. Then the judiciary, the legislature, and the executive, they have their own powers. But we don't want Buhari to do what Jonathan did, that the executive can spend the money they want to spend. And that is where they started making the entire nation, because they were just putting the money into their own covers. So that separation is very necessary if we want to move forward.
And I believe he made a good point, because before now, for example, the allocation going to the 776 local governments in Nigeria go through their state governments. And the state governors, sometimes, they are supposed to just pass it on. It's a conduit pipe to go through them to the local government. But the state governors don't observe that. They just take the whole money and dole out money to the local government as they wish. I think the president is saying he's going to look more closely into that and make sure that the separation is actually observed. And I think he started doing that when, after winning the election, some governors came to him. They were asking, they said they could not pay personal emolument and so on. And the first question he gave them was, what did you do with the allocations given to you? You have to explain that before you can be talking about that. And then they were saying that, oh, we want you to take our nominees. And he told, point blank, told them that show him the section of the Constitution, which is he has an obligation to take your nominees for ministers. And he did that. So this guy is serving notice and is letting everybody know that it belongs to everybody, but it belongs to nobody. I think that is really very classic.
Okay, let's talk about probing. To probe or not to probe. It's been in the news for a long time now, and today he said that there will be no paying of old scores. He gave indication that he's not there to go and settle, and that people should not be afraid to settle all things. But how do you move forward in the right direction if you don't resolve the things that happened in the past?
I think what he needs to do, my own view, is that he might not probe people, but weapon stealing that occurred during Jonathan's era, they should be made to vomit it back to the covers of government. I don't care how he does it, but even if if nobody is probed, which I think he has not seen the total dimension. So that's why he's saying what he's saying. He may come back to us tomorrow, oh, this is what I see, and the whole nation will say, probe them. And if he's not going to probe, why is Jonathan saying probe all the government from 1960? Jonathan knows what his government did. So I don't know. I think our current president is doing that for political expediency. When he gets there, when he gets to the office on Monday, the tune will be changed.
What is the take?
My take is that we'll be jumping the gun to even make a decision whether to probe or not to probe. Let us see the enormity of the problem on the ground. You know, because if somebody steals maybe 100 naira or 100 something, and you are comparing that with somebody stealing 100 million, it is the enormity of the problem on the ground that will dictate the policy, whether to probe or not to probe. There are certain things that can be forgiven, but there are some that are too big and that are too important that you cannot forgive them, especially when you want the country to move forward. For instance, if the new president is going to do anything right now, he will need money to do it. So if it is possible, my take on it is that for those of them who have actually embezzled government money, if there's a way to take part of this money back without even putting them, I'm not even interested in jail. Putting people in jail does not solve the problem. If they are able to cover out part of the thing they have stolen, that will be a big help. And then, and like I was saying, it depends on the enormity of the problem. And then that will dictate what we do, whether to probe or not to probe. And then in doing so, he must get the people to go along. Yes, because that's something I hear that he said is going to be a people-oriented government. It's for all. Yes, I belong.
A point just came to my mind.
Okay.
If somebody stole $200 billion, not naira, and he had over 200 houses in London, in France, in America, in Dubai,
And it can be proved.
and can be proved, are we going to say
Overlook it.
overlook it? Again, like Dr. Akintide said, don't let us jump the gun. When he gets to office on Monday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it will be coming clearer and clearer. All that he's saying now is saying on that speech is for expediency.
Okay.
And in a country, Rudolf, you know Nigeria has a lot of money. And you have to believe that Nigeria has a lot of money if Pastor Adeboye of the Redeemed Christian Church of God could come in the auditorium. He's asking to build an auditorium of 3 kilometers long, huge. That auditorium is going to be the biggest in the whole world. And he says, all right, I'm going to ask at this crusade for for donations. And I want to divide the category of donation into 3. Some who will pay 2 billion and above. The other category, 100 million and above, and then 50 million and above. And there were people coming out to make pledges that they were going to do it. So that tells me loud and clear that there's money in Nigeria. A lot of money in Nigeria. So if there's a way to really harness and get much of this money, and I know that those people who were able to donate 2 billion or 100 million, if you find out the source of their wealth, it's not too far from the government. Because they either get contract or they are doing something for the government. In fact, it cannot be a legitimate earning. I know that Dangote, Denuga, and the rest of them who make a lot of Ibori and all of that. But if we find out, the apple is not going to fall too far from the tree. And if you look at it very closely, much of that money comes from the government. They are bleeding the government to death. So if there's a way that the government can put something in place to really check that, I think that would be a step in the right direction.
I have a caveat to that. If somebody in this country, in America, where we are, if somebody made a $10,000 donation, it should be reported to the government.
That's what
Why don't? If somebody
will know about it.
If somebody is donating 20 billion, the source of that wealth should be investigated.
Now, actually, talking about America, the former Speaker of the House of Rep is under indictment for withdrawing more than $10,000.
Exactly.
And so they call it restructuring.
I think you have just brought out the beauty of democracy.
Yes.
That was long after he has left office. A whole Speaker of the House.
Now let's we're running out of time. Let me finally come to you. I know you were aware of Shagari's when Shagari took over government. And I want you to imagine if you were Shehu Shagari or today watching Buhari being sworn in as president, the same man that removed him from power in the 80s. What would be going?
That was it was Ibrahim Babangida that
planned the coup, but Buhari was the one that took over.
No,
it was Buhari.
Yes, Buhari staged a coup to remove
Shagari. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm saying Shagari.
Okay.
So Shagari was the first elected president in Nigeria, and he was removed by Buhari, and now he's watching Buhari taking oath of office as a democratic elected president. So what will be going on in his mind? What do you think? Put yourself in his position, Shagari's position, watching the man who removed him from power through military coup, taking over power as elected president.
Shagari is a very godly old man. Remember, both of them were in the same plane from London to Nigeria yesterday morning.
Shagari was there?
Yes.
Travel in the same plane.
Yeah,
okay.
they travel in the same plane.
Okay, I didn't
That
know.
will show you how godly Shagari is. But I will not say that about Babangida. For example, I am sure if you open Babangida's heart, he's not happy. And that's why we said Buhari should be very careful. He should not regard anybody as a friend, because a lot of people are not happy what transpired this morning in Nigeria.
In fact, I think it was a paradox of history. What happened at the inauguration this morning? First of all, you struck the chord by talking about how Shagari should feel. Here was the man who removed a legally elected civilian government, now coming back to power after 31 years. So I'm sure something must be going through his head. I saw the poor old man come in with a walking stick.
Yes.
He's getting old, and somebody
He's
has
90 now.
No, it's over
somebody
90.
has to
Over
hold
90.
his hand
Yeah,
together.
yeah.
You will
But
soon be
that he
91.
will even come there. But one thing I want to know is that the Hausas, you must give it to them.
Yes.
They are quite different from us, from the others, the Yorubas and
And the Igbos.
and the Igbos, for instance. They operate on a different wavelength. Once a score is settled, it's settled and it's
Yeah.
forgotten.
Yes.
And they are ready to move on. So I was talking about this paradox with Shagari and Buhari, and with Ibrahim Babangida and Buhari, because Buhari removed Shagari, Babangida removed Buhari. It's so interesting.
And they are there today.
And that the mere fact that Buhari is now coming back after 31 years on a popular vote could be seen by many as a repudiation of everything that Babangida stood for.
Yes.
I look at that, it made very, very interesting. History was in the making, but the paradox of it was very, very palpable. You can almost feel it and touch it.
And what I was thinking, personally, I was thinking that as Shagari would be like, why didn't you run for office in '83 instead of planning a coup to remove me?
Exactly.
Why didn't you compete against me?
I thought that would have been a legitimate
Why
feeling.
didn't you compete against me?
Exactly.
You know?
See how the engineers think.
And when you know Shagari, like Mr. Dedipe was saying, he's a gentleman. I was in the service when he was there. That man wanted the best for Nigeria, but he had around him. The problem is always the people around you.
Yes.
Yes, because there are people around you who have made politics their profession,
Yes.
their occupation. But what can you do?
I have to stop you here, but I wanted to get your opinion. He said about Shagari is a good man and gentleman. In 10 years' time, are we going to say the same thing about President Jonathan, that he was a good man and people? What are we going to say?
Not
10 years?
either of us. I can say that emphatically. Not either of us.
Okay, but what I'm saying is that is the country going to look back at his term and feel the same way we feel about Shagari?
As a historian,
Yeah.
I won't say that. I won't rush to judgment yet. Because, you know, this same Buhari who is now president today, by the time he was removed in 1985, when the coup was announced, I was in government. People rejoiced that he was removed because they thought he was too hard-headed. But within 31 years, and for 12 years, he struggled to gain back the presidency, he wouldn't, because people keep harping on that. But things got so bad to a point that people now started taking a second look at him and feeling that this man might not be wrong after all. So the same kind of consideration that happened to Buhari now might yet happen to Jonathan. Jonathan was had a very difficult situation that he was working inside. And if you give, I used to criticize him a lot, but he did a few good things that history will be kind to him. He did a few, for example, we are talking about this man, Wumi Akintide, who happens to be the best minister in his cabinet. It's the same Wumi Akintide that is now made the chairman of World Bank, African Development Bank. It was his nominee.
Yes.
Okay. Atahiru Jega, who conducted such a fantastic election, the best election so far in our history.
Ever.
It was his appointee. So it's not, we should not quickly rush to judgment on Jonathan. History might be kinder to him than we think. That's my feeling of that.
Well, I don't have that same feeling. So when I say both of us, I'm wrong. Jonathan flew every cat to stall the election. It's only God that made the difference. So I'm not going to say here, yes, he appointed Jega. He did not know that Jega will take the part he took. When Jega got there, he said there were 87 ways elections have been rigged since our independence. That's a professor. So he corrected the 87, and that the 87 ways was the system that brought the card reader and PVC. So Jega did his homework. If card reader and PVC were not used, we will not be here talking about inauguration today. So, you see, Jega did his own work. But I can bet Jonathan did not know that Jega will do it like this.
Yes, but there's another point, Mr. Adedipe.
Yeah.
You don't know all the forces that surround Jonathan. We cannot just take it for granted or just gloss over it, because Harold Wilson was the one who once said it. He said, survivor is the art of politics. I am sure today, at some point, while the inauguration was going on, you were asking what was going on in the mind, what would be going on in the mind of Shagari.
Yeah.
I also was wondering what would be going on in the mind of Jonathan. Getting to such an Olympian height and losing it all at that point. Because the presidency is not a child play. It's a great opportunity for anybody who is there. And I'm sure at some point he must feel a compulsion within himself that he was losing something, even though he still managed to smile to the people and wave and so on. But what I'm saying is that I think, as a historian, knowing what I know now, I know that history might be much more kinder to Jonathan.
Okay, we are totally out of time. Yes or no? Will history be kind to President Jonathan?
No.
Yes, I'm saying yes.
No.
All right. That's all the time we have. That's all the time we have.
Yeah.
I want to thank you, Dr. Wumi Akintide. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
And Mr. Adedipe, thank you so much for joining us. When we come back, we are going to continue our show. We are going to talk to more people in Nigeria who witnessed this event, and we are going to give you the chance to also give us your feedback through our phone talkback, and the Skype segment. So stay tuned.